Hello Steamies, I am back with another fan review, and it is a follow-up to a previous fan review. This is the Thomas Reborn Season 2 from the YouTube channel Thomas Lawrence. I'm not going to give the note from the actual content creators themselves, because I've done a whole video on Season 1, and if you want to find out the background of it, you can check it out in that review. This review is going to be another ranking video, but with a twist. As I've stated in many fan reviews, I only review original stories from members of the Thomas fandom that aren't as well known. So adaptations and more well-known Thomas fan fiction creators like the Buried Truck are not included because they've already built up their fandom. I want to promote content creators that deserve a bit more recognition. So this takes the total of episodes that I will be reviewing to 11. And once again, these are all my own personal opinions. Your list will be different than mine, and it's the one thing that makes the Thomas fandom so unique. If you have watched Season 2 of Thomas Reborn, let me know how you would rank these episodes, and all I ask is that you be respectful, and above all, enjoy the video. Okay? Let's dive in. James's Tree Trauma. This story is a follow-up from the Season 5 episode James and the Trouble with Trees. A lot of the Thomas Reborn's inspiration comes from Season 5, and it's probably one of the best eras of the classic era for them to go off, because there is a lot of threads that you can pull on from these tales. In this case, it's James not being over his incident with the tree from that episode. The episode shows James's vulnerable side, and you feel sympathy for him because you don't want him to experience any more trauma and understand why he's so scared. And honestly, it makes you a little bit concerned for his mental state. When James is derailed and hanging over the ravine, you do feel a real sense of urgency and suspense. And I like how it was Edward that came to rescue him, similar to what he did in Old Iron in Season 2. And I do like that it's Edward that gives James a little pep talk to get him back to the ball bag James that we all know and love. The episode was very well done. Yes, I know I voiced James in this episode, so I'm taking the voice acting out of the equation here, but the rest of them done a fantastic job. 8 out of 10. Every dog has its Daisy. I hadn't heard of this writer, Kiefer Adams, before, so this was a gateway for me to check out his YouTube stuff. And in all honesty, I might need to review his channel one day, if I'm ever approached to do so. But based on this story, I enjoyed it. It continues Daisy's fear of animals, and this time it's a dog, specifically Gremlin, which is always great to see him back. A woof woof. The voice acting in this is great. I particularly like Sky VA's voice work for Daisy. I liked Little Owl doing the voice of Gremlin, and when they done Champion's voice, that was actually really creepy. It's a lovely story, and it has great Season 4 vibes to it. 7 out of 10. Not a diesel. I have to admit, I've always got a soft spot for narrow gauge episodes, and this one is no different. I like the Rusty and Duke dynamic of this episode. It's something that wasn't really touched on in Season 4, and as such it wasn't touched on for the entirety of the Thomas and Friends franchise. So it's nice to see that little bit of experimentation. It shows that Duke has a caring nature, and it doesn't matter if you're a Steamy or a Diesel, if you do a good job, he will respect you for it, and also call people out if they're being a-holes. I like the twists with this story that it's humans that are being racist towards the diesel engines and not Steamies being racist to diesels, which has been done to death. It was very unique, and I know that the racism point is pretty much battered over your head, but that's what you need sometimes. Subtlety with this type of message does not work. It just needs a straightforward, you're being a racist, stop being a racist, and that is exactly what they delivered. 8 out of 10. Thomas, Percy and the Suspension Bridge. Again, I did some voiceover work in this. I voiced Mr. Goodman, so I have to take myself out of the equation for that. Although I do think I do a good job as Mr. Goodman, I must say. I did have to do a little bit of a double check, because there is a Thomas, Percy and the Suspension Bridge story out there, so I had to make sure that it wasn't an adaptation of previous work. But luckily, it's not. That is based on the Jelly Bean book, Thomas and the Big Bridge. This is a really good story, and it rounds off the Mr. Goodman arc. I do love a cameo, and this one had the Flying Scotsman. And there's so much meta humor and fourth wall breaking that I wasn't sure it would work, but for this series it does. It really shows how their own writing style has developed as the season has progressed. You can think what you like about the episodes, this is when they find their footing, they fully embrace it, and take no prisoners with it. And that's something that I really enjoy. 9 out of 10. The Diesel, the Artifact, and the Spooks, parts 1 and 2. If you're not in the mood for watching parts 1 and 2, he has combined it into an omnibus episode, which I do recommend you watch, because it keeps you in the moment of the suspense and the terror that they are trying to convey in this episode. Once again, there is more evolution in the writing style, this time really embracing the supernatural, creepy, spooky elements of their writing. There isn't that many notes that I have on it because it's just a great episode that I want you to go and watch. It's very well done, 10 out of 10. Inside the Smelters. Once again, carrying on with the spooky theme, but also carrying on a story from their very first pilot episode, Percy's Poltergeist. It's always good to see splatter and dodge, and the Thomas Mavis dynamic is something that I have said before wasn't explored previously, but I like that they are developing in this. I do like how we have a Mr. Goodman and we have a Mr. White in this series. Honestly, the Breaking Bad elements in this is just unreal. I don't even know how they got put on the software in the first place, but I am very glad they have been. Thomas's scene at the Smelters was very intense, and the twist at the end, very interesting. I am intrigued to see how they progress this storyline. 10 out of 10. The Haunted Bridge. This is an interesting twist that I really enjoyed. It's focused on an engine that is not based on the island of Sodor, but rather a mainland engine, specifically the one introduced in the Railway series story Gordon Goes Foreign. His name being Stefan. I love how Stefan is voiced in this. Very pompous, very arrogant, someone that you would just love to smack. That is exactly how I pictured this character. The story is very Duncan Gets Spooked from season 5, but it's given a good standard gauge twist. And I do like how they borrowed some of the music cues from that episode to really emphasize the fact. Quite intense, very enjoyable, and I love the Duck Oliver interaction at the end. 8 out of 10. Percy's Demons. Talk about taking this title a little too literally. Percy has some demons, aka the spectre of the evil truck, so let's exorcise the bugger. And I don't mean fitness, I mean an exorcism. I do like the visual effects changes from when the evil truck appears, and the whole horror B-movie line, once again, very meta. And also a nice bit of levity. I can understand why they're leaning into more horror-style episodes in this season, because it's clearly their passion, it's where their strengths lie, and everyone just ups their game in these episodes. There was quite an inventive way to get rid of the evil truck, which I will not spoil because I want you to go and enjoy this episode, but it also did leave me a little bit shaken. Very well done, 8 out of 10. The Lamp. Now we move on to the Christmas episodes, and I love the Christmas themed intro. I really enjoy the spooky one as well for the Halloween episodes, but when you watch these winter themed episodes at Christmas time and you see that intro, you feel all warm and fuzzy in your tummy. It's also a really fascinating continuation of Snow from season 5, where Scarloway is not over the fact that he got buried alive under snow and formed essentially an ice cocoon around him. And I can understand that. That isn't exactly something that you could get over. And also Rusty telling the story to Scarloway is very classic era Railway series style. It's got a nice Audrey-esque vibe to it. I almost thought that Duncan and James were going to get away with their prank. I'm glad they didn't, but it would have been an interesting twist to see that happen, where the audience are the only ones who know what really happened, but they live with the unusual happenings that they can't explain. I still really enjoyed it. 7 out of 10. Be Typical / Bruno. Holy crap, this episode was amazing. Loved everything about it. Don't get me wrong, I was very skeptical at first. You're introducing a character from All Engines Go into a classic era style series. We have no idea how that is going to go down, but the story constructed around it, beautiful. I like how at the start it's James and Bruno that have the interactions, and of course with the trucks being, well, the trucks decide to cause James a monumental headache by leading him to a crash, but because Bruno is so overwhelmed and can't deal with it, trucks actually feel sorry for him and halt their plan. An interesting twist, and I must say, everything from when Edward meets Bruno
right until the end. Feckin' heartwarming, heartbreaking, all at once. The idea of Bruno and Edward both having this common theme was something really well written, properly explained, thoughtfully executed. This video deserves a lot more views than it has got at the time of this recording. Go and show it to anybody who maybe needs a little bit of an education on a certain issue that is brought up in this episode. Again, I'm being very vague with what it is because I want you to go and watch it. I really enjoyed it. I think you will too. 10 out of 10. Henry's Christmas Carol. Technically, I shouldn't include this because it's a Christmas Carol. It's been adapted to death. Even Thomas and Friends itself. But there was so much originality and inventiveness in this that I could not leave it off. One thing I will say, you guys know how to pull on those heartstrings. Especially when it was Henry's Ghost of Christmas Past. I was in feckin' tears. It is the longest episode that they have done at this point. And I do like how it was incorporating season 1 and season 2 vibes into it. Those are my nostalgia bait, and season 2 is my favourite season. The story was great, the voiceovers were fantastic, the visual effects were very well done. You can see how much that they have improved and settled into their style by this point, and they developed a side of Henry's character that really needed to be explored. It was sad, it was scary, sometimes darkly funny, because let's face it, this is Thomas Reborn. They have that dark, scary meta-humor thing going on, but overall, very enjoyable. 9 out of 10. That's my thoughts on each episode, so here's the rankings. Number 11, The Lamp. Number 10, Every Dog Has Its Daisy. Number 9, Percy's Demons. Number 8, The Haunted Bridge. Number 7, James's Tree Trauma. Number 6, Not a Diesel. Number 5, Thomas, Percy and the Suspension Bridge. Number 4, Henry's Christmas Carol. Number 3, Inside the Smelters. Number 2, The Diesel, the Artifact and the Spooks. And number 1, Be Typical / Bruno. And that is my review / ranking of Thomas Reborn Season 2. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. And until next time, keep on chugging.